Okay, let's go. A warm welcome to today's Impact for Breakfast session. It's a pleasure to have all of you with us today. I'm Deborah Keller, and I'm going to be hosting today's session. When not facilitating these IFB sessions, I dedicate my time in managing and expanding outreach of Global Impact for Breakfast Network. IFB is an initiative supported by ArmTech Impact, which is the impact investing arm of the Rianta Capital Family Office. Today, we will explore the challenges and the opportunities of attracting seed capital for impact funds in developing countries, as well as the role of Diasporas in leveraging tech capacities for support of an impact venture ecosystem in the homeland. I have the pleasure to have with me today Vahagn Voskanyan. He is the managing partner at ArmTech Impact Studio, and he will share with us their blended approach to structuring an early stage impact fund. Before we start with the session, I would like to cover a few housekeeping topics. As always, we will be recording this session. We will share the link with you after the event in a follow-up email. You're welcome to revisit the content yourself or share it with your colleagues and friends that might be interested in the insight shared today. Since this is an informal community network gathering, you're welcome to share your thoughts, comments, ideas, or questions. If you can think of a question for Vahagn, just pop it into the chat field and we'll make sure we will answer it also during the presentation. And now, with no further ado, over to you, Vahagn, the stage is yours.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Deborah, for organizing this event. I'm really excited to share my experience and lessons learned with all of you. Thank you for finding time during this morning or afternoon from around the globe. And let me first try to share my screen, and please welcome if you have any question during the presentation. So I'll be happy to return and to clarify. I'm actually based in Armenia. Maybe a couple of words about myself. I'm Vahagn. So let me. So there's some problem with tech. And all my life I work in financial sector, basically in project finance, in private equity, and also in venture capital. And in 2008, I also established my own company and implemented different social projects together with Save the Children. We help people with disabilities. I personally was involved in designing a guide for people with disabilities, helping them to do business. We also established more than 50 micro enterprises for migrants from Europe in Armenia, and a couple of other projects. So for last, I think it's, I cannot scroll for some reason, sorry. Okay, it works. During the last 3 years, I'm also working as an impact investment advisor for UNDP Global in Europe and Asia, also including Armenia. And I had a chance to visit different conferences, meet a lot of impact investors in Switzerland, in Singapore, in the US. And I was wondering why these big impact players are not investing in Armenia, why Armenia and countries like Armenia are out of radar of big global players. So there are some reasons. They brought one of them, as much as I understand, why they're investing, let's say, in Africa, in Latin America, or in India. So they're looking for big impact. And this return on impact is really a criteria which they are looking for. This is the first reason. The second reason is that in countries like Armenia, they couldn't find the counterpart which really care about impact, which can provide appropriate impact reports, or have some understandable impact thesis for investing. And the third reason was the lack of really infrastructure and lack of understanding about the impact, about ESG principles, or IMM strategies and frameworks. But the situation is not so bad in reality in Armenia, because a lot of internationals are trying to push this agenda. They are organizing different incubators, accelerators, and trying to stimulate the development of impact ecosystem in Armenia. And there are a lot of acceleration program currently running, targeting some social and environmental outcomes. But this link is really missing, and we only have a couple of angel investment networks now, also around like 5 venture funds, which are we can say pure commercial, although we can have some SDG alignment or impact alignment. They are still looking for some really commercial ventures. So there is a lack of expertise here on the field. And when we find out together with our partners that there is a gap in the ecosystem and there is a need of early stage impact fund in Armenia, in the countries like Armenia, we find out that it's really hard to accelerate seed capital from so-called classic impact investors, although they are not much in Armenia, right? So the way to find this capital is to go to these global players. And for that, you need to have the relevant pipeline and relevant scale of impact. From other side, actually, we did research, and again, we were surprised what global players like Finance in Motion and FMO are investing in commercial banks. As I said, they couldn't find the relevant impact vehicle. And eventually they are investing in, let's say, commercial banks, and in their turn investing in SMEs, pursuing some impact outcomes. Of course, everyone kind of happy, and they are providing these nice reports to their investors, but literally they are just blending this patient capital, so-called, with their deposits, and the final stakeholders receiving the pure commercial money. Again, we understood that these big players are looking for countries like Armenia, and in Armenia in particular, because the same Finance in Motion has around $60 million portfolio distributed and channeled through commercial banks. But they cannot find any other appropriate vehicle which can provide measurable social and environmental outcomes. So we are become more kind of confident in our idea to establish a fund which will finance early stage ventures. Because those ventures which are graduating this acceleration program, they do not have much opportunities to fund financing. One way is to just turn their financial business model into pure kind of profit-making one. And another sources for early stage impact ventures in Armenia are grants. And usually they are not providing any additional side support like impact measurement and management framework, or nobody is helping to define their impact thesis, let's say, right? So in order to position themselves as an impact investment venture or impact venture. And we understood that there is a need of such a fund in Armenia, and for that we need to first accelerate some seed capital, get some operational money, for instance. Just for your information, Armenia is a small landlocked country. We only have 3 million people living in Armenia. The poverty rate is above 40%, by the way, and we heavily need this kind of new way of doing business in Armenia. Only 30% of Armenians are living in Armenia. The other 6 million are distributed around the globe. Basically, they are living in US. Around 1.5 million, another 1.5 million is living in Russia, in Europe and other countries. And if we try to calculate kind of Armenian global GDP, it will be like 10 times more than the per capita GDP in Armenia. So there is a big potential around the globe, and on top of that, on top of financial resources, these representatives really have good network to leverage for Armenia. Of course, there are some ways for doing that, but basically they are doing it using some donors platforms like Pan-Armenian Fund. And this kind of funds accelerating funding for infrastructure projects, big projects, and there is no choice to choose this one comparing with the other one, and you have actually no control on them. So you are just providing money. There are also other channels, but these are basically donor crowdfunding platforms for some initiatives, let's say. And usually whenever these people got called from Armenia, they are asked to provide some master classes or provide this donor contribution, or to provide some small or big investments in these donor platforms. We decided to change this paradigm and also allow those people which are eager to invest in Armenia also to have the opportunity to have a profit, to have financial return, and also to have some measurable social and environmental outcomes on top of that. The other community we are looking is the tech community. Comparing with other economic sectors, this sector have like 20% grow year by year during the last 10 years. We have more than 20,000 engineers in Armenia, and a lot of Silicon Valley-based companies actually have engineering backup in Armenia, and a lot of big players are investing or acquiring different companies in Armenia, the same Microsoft and others. And also we have a couple of deals with Sequoia and other big venture funds. So there is an ecosystem here, and on top of that, these companies trying to shift from providing outsourcing to big companies. Basically in Silicon Valley, they are developing their own products based on machine learning, artificial intelligence, and other techniques. So we decided to kind of mix these two opportunities and offer them to become investors in the fund and to leverage their potential. For countries like Armenia, it's important to position themselves in the world's map of tech and impact. And we, for example, currently are trying to push this slogan, the Caucasian Tiger, promoted by World Bank as a vision for Armenia. And I think it's people can remember us for the first iteration and trying to find out what else we can find in Armenia and how we can leverage our experience and expertise here. We are trying to build a community of these people from diaspora and the tech community in Armenia to leverage their experience, expertise, network, and financial resources. For me, basically speaking, tech community also a kind of proxy diaspora, because they can easily change their location one day and become a diaspora, and then and their mindset is a bit different when we are comparing with the people from other sectors in Armenia. They are more global minded. They are really care about impact. So we are tackling them as a one ecosystem, as a one community. And thanks God, most of them, they really love the idea to join this initiative and to have early stage impact ventures to do their first steps. By the way, also to add what the ties with diaspora is really very hard. And even we have some monetization, let's say, statistics on that, of about around $1.5 billion private transfers are sent each year to the family members only. It excluded the investment they are making in Armenia. And it's about 10% of our GDP. Imagine how ties are hard with Armenia. So, but I think only private transfers and this kind of philanthropic support is not enough, to leverage their experience and expertise. So that's why we decided to blend commercial and development resources. Also, we understood that the classical approach with this 220 is not enough, because what else we are going to do? We are going to train our investees. And just as Deborah mentioned in the announcement, we are trying to blend different approaches. First of all, we copy the approach of different states, authorities, which are trying to keep the repatriation of capital towards Silicon Valley. They are building so-called members managed funds, and they are providing them with the capacity building. So they are training them. So we are also going to train those investors which are not well educated or do not experience in tech, application of tech for impact, first of all, impact measurement and management, and ESG standards. By the way, we are going to use IMP framework for that purpose. So we have A, B, and C categories of impact measurement layers. So A is act without heart, B is benefiting stakeholders, and C is contributing to solutions. And the other model we are going to use is so-called studio funds. So for those ventures which are not ready for investors, we are going to build so-called studio cohorts, and active members will support them. So I'll come to that later, because we have three categories of investors. We have A, active investors, B, strategic investors, and development partners. So the basic kind of value of the fund are those who are treated as an A class or active investors, which are from diaspora and tech industry, also from with those who have educational background, background in healthcare, etc. So here you can see our anticipated ecosystem impact. We want to change the way the venture funds are investing in Armenia. We'll try to convince them at least to apply some impact thesis or impact framework, showing by our own experience and becoming a kind of benchmark for that. We are also trying to have significant investments in early stage startups, lead them towards next rounds, and nurture them, because they really need that in order to keep their business models as impact business models. And we are also anticipating some spin-offs, because our A-class investors are professionals from their own domain. And also we have a couple of interesting initiatives jointly proposed by different partners which know each other through this kind of joining the network. Here is our brainstorming around our impact, and we are looking for global impact, but also we want to see how it will be reflected in our country, as we are looking for impact ventures not only established by Armenians, but those solutions of which can be applied in Armenia. So we are looking for global impact, and we'll try to start structuring kind of Armenian SDGs, because really, by my own opinion, if you are not following this sustainable development goals in your everyday work, in your everyday choice, even whenever we are choosing food, choosing the packaging of that food and doing something, you should care about the social and environmental outcomes, considering what the outcome can be also negative. So as much as the difference is positive, let's say, between positive and negative outcomes we are generating throughout the way we are living, the more impactful we are, let's say, right? So this is another attempt to show that this is really very personal and individual if you are talking about social and environmental outcomes. Here you can see an interesting slide, and we designed it together with engineers, as you can feel it. And we just brainstorm around what can do a small country like Armenia in order to push them towards toward better impact, toward more positive outcomes. So, and we believe that the startup ecosystem can be this lever, and if you can push it in the right way, you can have this attitude. Also using the diaspora, which is, as I said, in case of Armenia, around the globe. So you really can show this and show this to others, how to do the business in other way. Here is about mechanics of the fund. So our industry focus is medtech, agritech, edutech, fintech, space and security, and also fintech. Actually, during the last 3 months, we are doing interesting steps towards assistive technology. And today we are going to announce an acceleration program together with our partners. We are looking for solutions for people with disabilities, elderly population, and veterans. And this is a new area which we as a fund are going to introduce to the Armenian tech and financial community. So as I said, we are going to finance pre-seed rounds and do follow-on investments for seed and Series A. And our ticket sizes is not big comparing with other funds. So up to 30K if you are talking about pre-seed rounds, 50K up to 50K for seed rounds, and follow-on investments around 10K plus. So the fund life is 10 years, and we are looking for $5 million, but the first closing will be, I think, around $1 million. So far, we already have commitments from 15 people, 15 plus, and we are going to approach them again, and before the first closing, which will be during the next month. So we already have the portfolio companies, as I said, from assistive technologies, health tech, education, agrotech, and fintech. Here is a kind of gradation. As I said, we have active partners, passive partners, or strategic partners, and development partners. And for active partners, we have very low thresholds, so they should invest minimum $25,000. And we are looking for, as I said, for professionals, because I think their contribution is more than just providing financial resources. A lot of people are working in Google, in NASA, in different other companies, and they can really bring some new culture to Armenian ecosystem. And in case if you are an active partner, you should contribute minimum 8 hours monthly. And we are going to utilize this in order to screen the ventures. So we will form screening committees. Let me show here on health tech, fintech, edutech, agrotech, and space and security. What means that we are going to shortcut, the usual process of venture funds. As I said, last year I joined the Venture University Partner Fund in Silicon Valley, and still I'm a venture partner there. And also, as much as I'm talking with other funds and trying to support them with the impact thesis development, most of them have this expertise problem with expertise. Because if you are a bit generalistic, you cannot have all experts on board, right? So you need to hire the experts, or you need to ask the same diaspora members in order to help you. But here we are going to form the screening committees, and active partners will screen initially, trying to identify if, let's say, out of these opportunities, which are with the most potential to invest. So there are different ways. If we decided to invest, we immediately, the general partner will do the due diligence, and then in the investment committee, active partners together with general partner will decide to invest or not. And active partners will have 3 voices out of 5 voices during the investment committee. If the venture is not ready to be invested, we will form this studio cohort, and all active partners will try to support as much as possible. Before support, we will have the preliminary valuation up to 100K, and we're saying that this is kind of the limited valuation in case if we will do your follow-on rounds, and also will invest in your company and bring some more money on board. So if you are an active partner, you will have the full access to trainings. Trainings will be conducted in impact measurement and management, in venture investment, and technology and innovation. As I said, our active partners are from tech industry, from education, healthcare. Some of them have some understanding of venture investment, but others are just doing their first steps. And in order to enforce them, we're going to provide them with technical capacity building trainings on all these three directions. The next layers of investors, we call them strategic investors or passive partners, let's say, and they are going, the minimum contribution is 50K, and there is no requirement for them to help us with the operational run of the fund, but they are free, of course, to provide their experience and opinions during the screening committee, also during the investment committee, although they will not have kind of the voting right, and also they will have access to trainings. And the third category of investors, we call them development partners, and we are looking from them actually technical assistance, also the first loss capital. Currently, we are communicating with Finance in Motion. We send them the partnership proposal, and they are really excited with the initiative, considering what we are really happy to share this experience with other countries, and eventually maybe we'll have some different chapters, let's say, in different countries, because I know that most of developing countries really have this challenge to attract this seed fund, and they are really struggling. And now we can share this with our development partners, and they may be interested to provide financing not only to one country, but also to have kind of regional global initiative. And so here you see the mechanics of the fund structure. And here, just for your understanding, we have Audrey Selian on board. Maybe most of you know her, and she's going to join the call if she's not here yet. We have people representing the tech communities. Vahagn Voskanyan, he is specialized in artificial intelligence consulting and initiated a couple of projects basically in Germany. Anna Mugurchan is from Canada. She works for the mining industry in sustainable mining, and currently she's an investor in different startups in Canada. Vahagn Voskanyan is from Singapore. He's currently managing an IB, and established and managing an IB school. In Hong Kong, we also have Anya Satrian, who is investor in different ventures and also funds in Armenia. By the way, as we talk before the presentation with Deborah, it comes out that half of our partners and most of our investors are women. Maybe it's okay with the developing countries, but for countries like Armenia, it's a kind of new thing. So it's again, we are ready to share our experience and approaches on that. We also have Robert Hovakimian, who is engineer and providing different solutions for oil and gas industry. Garagin Gevorkyan is the manager of SEF International. Ashot is also his own engineering company. We have David Iskandarian, who has rich experience in infrastructure development, in the regional development ecosystem. Zach Arman is representing healthcare and health tech ecosystem. Kim Bardakyan is from Kapur Capital. Maybe most of you know this, and we are really during our roadshow in US, we meet with the founder of Kapur Capital and got a lot of interesting advices. And Dmitry also is representing the tech ecosystem. And we have some more people joining the initiative. They are from Germany. So far we have investors from US, from Germany, from Singapore, from Austria, from Luxembourg, from US and Russia. And we are going to partner with well-known, this ecosystem representative, including Jean, EVPA. We are currently talking with EVPA to become a member. And as I said, we are acquainted with standards of impact measurement and management promoted by IRIS. So maybe we can, I don't know, Deborah, maybe we can continue with Q&A, depending what kind of questions and what kind of areas and dimensions are interesting for people joining this call.
Of course, thank you very much, Vahagn. So anyone in the call that has questions, you can also unmute yourself and share your question directly with Vahagn. I have one regarding the partners you mentioned. You mentioned the maximum amount of partners you wish or you can have in your round. Is there a minimum that you need to have so the fund can function properly?
Actually, we already have around 15 partners, so it's enough, I think, and they can considering the experience. So we already can structure free screening committees in health tech, in fintech, in assistive technologies, and also education. So we already can start the investment process. The limitation, because we are structuring the non-public contractual fund. According to Armenian legislation, the number of investors cannot exceed 49. Otherwise, you need to, lie under other regulations of central bank. That's why there are some limitations. But for now, we already have 15 plus partners. It allows us to have enough expertise in order to start the investment process.
We have another question from Barbara. Barbara, do you want to share your question yourself?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I was just curious. If I say I'm going to participate here as what was it, active partner with 25,000K, or was it a passive one? Active, no? What is the expected return? I mean, and how long is the investment? Is it like a 5 years, 10 years plan, or how would that work?
Okay, we're planning our active investment period is 5 years, and we're going to also, in order to provide the operational some inflows, we're going to start exit starting to the third year of operation, and our expected return is times seven. And so, in case if you are going to join, you can become active partners if you have time, at least 8 hours a month. You have an expertise, so we're more than welcome, and you can be a part of the screening committee, and also you will select the voting members for the investment committee.
Okay, thanks a lot. I will reach out later on to you. Thanks.
And we are not going to invest only in Armenia, as I said. We're looking for other opportunities around the globe.
Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Any more questions? Feel free to unmute yourself if you have any and you would like to ask them directly. Or you can use the chat field and I can share it with Vahagn and read it out loud.
Yeah, should I look at questions or? And just to add, what startups really are interested in the network of people join the initiative, because really Armenian diaspora is around the globe. So the first round, as I said before, with this diaspora member, and if they want to enter some markets in Europe or in US, we just have the straightforward way of doing that. And people representing those countries are well known in their fields, and they can provide some industry insights as well. That's why I think the fund is interested not only for Armenian ventures, but for other impact ventures as well.
Eva has a question. Eva, do you want to share your question, or shall I read it for you?
Sure, happy to share. Thanks so much. Really interesting. And especially I noted earlier, it's just super interesting to hear how you're engaging the diaspora. And also just the amount of kind of direct family donations and leveraging, you know, that connection now for investments. So super interesting. About how much time or what percentage of your time do you spend on preparing, you know, kind of upskilling those diaspora active partners? And tell me if I'm making any assumptions in there, but it sounded like that's part of what you offer. And I'm curious just how your time breakdown is for that.
So actually, I started working on these projects 1.5 years ago, and start talking with diaspora and local partners starting like 1 year ago. So it took 12 months. But as far as I were hardly using these references from one to another, and we are tightly connected. So we are offering this opportunity only for selected people, right? So in order to have the cohort or members which really can work with each other. So that's why we are not just doing some public offerings or providing this opportunity to each diaspora member. We are just selectively approaching those who are already making some contributions. Let's say recently we approached Karina Sargsyan from Austria, and she's already doing some projects in Armenia. She's she's well-known professionals in health and education, and we just directly approached them through LinkedIn and immediately got a reply and start investigating how she can contribute, because the concept is shaping by each member, and each member provide additional leverage of their network. So the hardest thing are the first kind of contributors, and we already have Audrey here, and Audrey helped a lot, and she also bring this confidence to other members, other active investors about the initiative. And also we have Ani, investor, as I said, she's also very active in the field, and she already committed a lot. And everyone is kind of trying to leverage their own network. And for most people, this is an interesting way of using their connections, because they are not just a professional, they're becoming an investor, and day by day, learning by investing, they're becoming kind of angel investors, right? So that's why they are offering this opportunity to people they know. I mean, the hardest thing is the first like 3 or 4 months, and later, I mean, they already, people even approached the fund offering their commitments. And I also had 2 trips. My recent trips was to Russia, and before I was in US in Silicon Valley, and also I'm going to visit end of this month, and I'll be happy to meet Impact for Breakfast members if you have time, starting from the 1st of June. 1 week I'll be there.
That's great fun. Thank you. I'll connect, and yeah, I haven't seen that before, so it just strikes me as a really win-win model, you know, to engage diaspora members and also to grow the community of angel investors. So super interesting. I'm actually based in Berlin, but I'll reach out because we may overlap in California.
Great. With pleasure.
Thank you.
The time of only asking for donation from diaspora is over, I think. And personally, I believe in the middle of philanthropy and commerce. I work in both sectors, but now I really feel me comfortable within this scheme. I believe in impact investment, and so the diaspora providing only these donations or doing big investments is not enough, because the professionals are out of the game. You know, the professionals which can commit with 25K during 2 years, let's say, they are not approached. They are just approached to provide some master classes or expertise. And now we're trying to really give our return as a country, as a platform.
You have time for a few more questions if you have any.
I would ask one, actually, and Vahagn, I think there may be others on this call, and forgive me if it hasn't already been raised, who would try to kind of isolate the couple of factors about your structure and your approach that would be most easily transposed to other diaspora models and contexts. Are there specific elements that you think are going to, you know, scale or be transposed easily? And are there specific elements that you think are going to be more challenging when somebody applies a similar approach to a different context?
Maybe, as I said, in case of Armenia, we have more spread diaspora around the world, but I'm sure for developing countries, if you look at the same private transfers, you'll find out that there's a lot of kind of tight connections with the homeland. So basically, if someone is leaving country to more developed environment, they're trying to help their country. So they do not have enough platforms for doing that. And I think such kind of models would allow them to commit and contribute more to their homelands. And plus, if we are talking about integration, I forget mentioning our partners. We are currently working with other like diaspora initiatives like High Combinator. This is a gathering of different people from venture investment from basically the US and Russia and around the globe. We are also working with venture funds in Armenia and also outside of Armenia. So we are sharing our pipeline, we're sharing our experience. So it's more easy for doing the first step with those who understand the internal circumstances of the country. So in case if you cannot convince those who well know what's going on in your country, it will be harder, especially for obtaining seed capital for impact fund. It's much more difficult, you know. And for that, I think diaspora and tech community, which I said is kind of a proxy diaspora, can make this first step and become the first risk taker. And for us, it's more easy to digest through the diaspora ties rather than immediately approach the big players. For example, now we are talking with one of the big global impact investment funds to double the investment commitments of our investors. So we already have around $500,000, and we are looking for another half as first loss capital. And plus, they are ready to provide us with technical assistance and also some matchmaking grant facility. I don't think that it will be possible if you do not have this core people on board. And doing this for impact funds in the infrastructure, which do not have much understanding about even impact measurement and management of ESG. I'm talking about countries like Armenia, I think is a double, triple challenge. So this is the way, again, to leverage the potential of diaspora in order to run vehicles, blended finance vehicles like this. And by the way, Audrey is the engine of the fund, so really thanks Audrey for providing so much energy. And she is not a typical, but the brilliant representative of the diaspora, you know, Armenian who is trying to help such initiatives.
That's very generous, Vahagn.
And Deborah, just another thing, what we actually stole your idea of Impact Breakfast. I love the format. And we had a gathering together with investors in the morning, not for coffee, but for an Armenian meal called hash. And it became hash for impact.
There's a lot of vodka involved in that meal, if I remember correctly. So.
With wine.
Right.
Well, happy to launch a version of the Impact Breakfast in Armenia with that traditional meal.
Yeah, there's a chapter there. Maybe we can adapt the format a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, with pleasure. Welcome.
Okay. There are no additional questions. Vahagn, if you have any final comments you wish to share with us.
Deborah, first of all, thanks a lot for organizing this. This is a really good chance for me to outreach and to hear these interesting questions, and hope we'll be in touch with the members and trying to share our experience and lessons learned. And I'm ready all time, and I think this is a good approach also to benchmark and scale in other countries, especially if you're looking for big investors interested in different developing countries. And this will help to channel money also to countries like Armenia, because as I said, basically people are looking for Africa and Latin America and India for a big impact, but countries like Armenia hardly need this as well. So don't forget about this, and we have good potential here, engineering talent, in order to leverage your investments. So welcome to Armenia.
Thank you very much. Thank you for this, sharing all those insights of this unique fund model. It was extremely interesting. Thank you everyone for joining today. If there is anyone in your network or anyone you know that might be interested in getting to know the model, I think Vahagn is going to be in San Francisco later in the year, so he can also meet people there. So please make sure to connect him. We'll be sharing this recording, as I mentioned earlier, and you can share that one as well. And I'll be sharing his contact details within that email, so you can reach out to him directly if you have any follow-up questions or topics you would like to speak about with him.
Thank you.
Thank you everyone for your time, and I wish you a wonderful rest of your day and look forward to see you at another Impact for Breakfast session. Bye.